If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that sub button for more amazing content. Now, let's jump straight into the video. What's good, YouTube? It's your girl Bofino1 bringing you guys yet another YouTube video, and today we are back yet again with another podcast where I'm talking about some trending topics that I thought are interesting, maybe topics that you guys think are interesting. And yeah, at the end I typically do a Q&A, so if you guys want me to answer your question for the next video, be sure to comment that down below in the comment section so you can get your question answered. But let's jump straight into it now. So the first topic that I want to talk about, as everyone's been talking about nonstop every single day, all day, is the whole coronavirus and just how it's affecting different aspects. So earlier today, so maybe let me just go back. So as of right now, I have a 2017 Hyundai Accent car. I got it my junior year of college, brand new. My parents got it for me. And my dream car has always been like a Jeep Wrangler. It's kind of now like a Jeep Wrangler, Jeep Cherokee, kind of like going in between those two. But like a Jeep for the most part is what I've always, like that's been like my dream car. And the other day I was like talking to my dad about it. You know, my parents know I was just talking about it. And he had mentioned this like a month ago when all this like coronavirus stuff started. He's like, oh, maybe you should go check online to see what's the cost of it. And not to say for me to go buy one, just to see like, is this affecting the market, So earlier today, I just, was just peeking, just looked online. I looked at like a lot of different cars, not just like mine. It's like I looked at the Kia Soul. I looked at like the Hyundai Accent. I looked at the Mercedes-Benz. Like I looked at like multiple cars just to kind of see, what they are now, to kind of compare them to what they were, right? So I go online, and typically, depending on the model that you get, the Jeep Wrangler ranges between, let's say, like $35,000, depending on the model. And right now, they're selling it for like as low as like $26,000. And that's still a pretty hefty price in terms of a car. But like for that kind of car, that's considered like a more high tier vehicle. So the fact that they're selling it for that low, and for those you don't know, you're probably not really keeping up with this, but a lot of car dealerships are allowing people 4 months without making a payment, just because they're basically so desperate for people to come in and buy their cars. Because right now, like I said, the market is not good. The economy is not good. People are losing their jobs. If you haven't been keeping up with the news, millions and millions of people have lost their jobs. So a lot of people are not buying things like cars and houses, which leads me to my next topic is, well, let's go back to the first one. I mean, that's the other thing too, is with buying a car right now, yes, it's a good time in a sense to buy one in terms of the prices, but it's also super shaky right now because of the economy. Yeah, you could be an essential worker, but you don't know, are you going to have your job a year from now? We don't know how the economy, how everything's going to look 6 months from now, a year from now. So it's also kind of scary at the same time to buy a car right now just because it's cheap, or they're cheaper. I feel like right now is a good time for someone to buy a car that maybe has a used car or an old car, and they know it's not going to last them that much longer, and they're like, hey, I need to get a new car, and right now might be my time. I think this is a perfect time for someone that maybe fits in that category. As for someone that, like, for example, me, I have a new car. I drove it a little bit in college. I'm really just driving my car, and more so like since I started my job last July, just because I didn't, like, in college you don't really drive your car that much. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for someone, like if you have an older car and you want to get a new one, and you're looking for a deal. I mean, you're going to probably get the best deal that you can, as well as I also don't want to get a car right now. The car also, this is like me talking, is because I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, I don't know if I'm gonna have my job 6 months from now. I mean, I'm an essential worker, but like, who's to say that the economy won't crash more? You know what I mean? Like, what will the economy even look like? Like, and at the same time, who knows, the prices may drop even more, So like, you don't want to jump the gun just because it looks good now. You don't know what it's going to look like, let's say 6 months from now, or even next year, right? So in some ways you could say this is the best time, but it's also the worst time to purchase a car right now. The next thing that I was going to get into earlier is the housing market is crashed. I've talked about this with some of my like closer friends, and that I want to get a house. I'm a strong believer in owning your stuff. And that's not to offend people that like rent, but I'm just a firm believer in buying a house or a condo, like basically having your own land, your own property, not renting. And I know some people are not in that position to do so, but if you are, that's just me. I feel like I'd rather buy something, when I know the time is right, than rent. But in general, like right now, buying houses, the market's crashed. Like you might see a house that was like $300,000. That house now might be like 250, 200,000, or well, it might go down to 200,000 just because it goes back to kind of like what I was saying with the whole car thing. Yeah, cars are cheap, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people want to just jump out and buy one just because it's cheap. People are more concerned about, hey, can I pay my bills? Can I put food on the table? It's the same thing with houses. Like, you may be looking at buying a house, but you're like, hey, like, I don't know if I'm gonna have my job in 6 months. I don't know if I'm gonna have my job in a year. Like, I gotta make sure that I'm doing or maybe that money that you had saved up for that house, maybe you're like, hey, I'm not gonna use that no more. I'm not gonna worry about getting a house. I'm gonna try to make sure I have that money for my family, to make sure that we can eat, to make sure that, we got a roof over our heads, stuff like that. Like people's, I think, thoughts about things have changed probably now more than ever, just in general. So it's kind of crazy to see, I mean, now you can't even go in, I think, even with like getting a car, like you have to order it online. Like you can't even go out there and even test drive it. I don't even know if you can even do that right now, just because of this whole, like, I know you can still get your cars and stuff serviced, but I don't know if you can even go in and, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. It's really just crazy. And like I said, you really just don't know what's going to happen in the next, let's just say, year or so, or 6 months, or next month. We just don't know, which leads me to my other topic. For those that live in Illinois, or specifically Chicago, you might have heard about this, the house party that happened in Chicago that had at least 1,000 people. So essentially what happened was, I saw the video as well. I think it surfaced like on TMZ and some other places. Basically, it was a person that recorded a house party that had like 1,000 people there. It was like an Airbnb. So for those who don't know what an Airbnb is, it's basically like a place that so it's like your house, like a house, and you rent it out to somebody, like, and it's kind of like a house hotel, I guess you kind of could say. Nonetheless, it was a pretty big place, and the person rented it out to this person, I guess, for maybe a day or a night, I don't know how long, and they decided to throw a party with like 1,000 people there. And if you looked at the video, the people were literally packed together like freaking sardines. They were so close. It was just like, first of all, I don't understand why you even feel comfortable with all this social distancing stuff. I don't even understand why you would even feel comfortable being that close. As well as, this is the kind of stuff, when this stuff happens, it affects everybody else. This is kind of like what happened when the whole like St. Patrick's Day thing, when they told people to stay home and they didn't, and they ended up going out still. And, the governor was like, yeah, okay, well, like, we're going to shut everything down, and this is kind of like one of those things where you have these few people that kind of ruin it for everybody else. And this is just my thought. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I have a feeling that they're probably going to end up putting a curfew now. Where you only can be out a certain amount of time, because before it would, like, as of right now, it's just been you can't really go anywhere but the groceries or like essential places, but there's no curfew, so you still could be out driving, you still could be out moving, it's just you can't go anywhere really. And that's kind of the part for me that kind of sucks, because like me, I work nights, and there's a lot of people that maybe work second shift, and if they put a curfew on, like, I know I have a note for my job that says like, hey, if I get pulled over, basically like, this is why I'm out, for my job. And I know a lot of other people have that as well, but it's also just kind of like to the point where, it's kind of just to the point where it's like, why is it that, like, why do people do this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, the whole social distancing, why did you think it was okay to have 1,000 people come to a party? And you may say, oh, well, maybe they only invited 50 people and those people invited other people. But still, why would you invite 50 people? Why would you invite 20 people? Why would you even be trying to have a party at a time like this? And this is the kind of stuff that screws everybody else over, because you have these few individuals that do this kind of stuff, and they make it hard for everybody else, because we all now have to suffer the consequences. I mean, they're already talking about, if you listen to the news, that they're saying that teachers should be prepared for fall learning. They should be prepared for for fall e-learning. So that lets you know right there that like we might be in quarantine for the whole summer. They've already extended it through May. If you haven't been listening to the news, they've already extended it through May. So now it's like there's a good possibility that the quarantine whole stay-at-home order is going to be longer. There's going to be more restrictions because people can't listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, they trying to be nice by not putting a curfew, by letting you still be able to go out. Maybe you want to go over your friend's house, you know, like the grocery store closes at 8. Maybe you want to hang with one friend or two friends. But now if there's a curfew that becomes in place, it's like you basically have to have a reason why you're out, or you have to stay at someone's house for the night. So it's like it's always those few individuals that make it bad for literally everybody else. It sucks, you know. And that's not to say that they're gonna do it, but I mean, every time something has always happened like this, like for example, downtown Chicago, it was a weekend I think it was earlier this month. Yeah, I think it was like maybe the beginning of April or something like that. And it was a really nice day out. People were out, you know, jogging and stuff. And they said like you can exercise, you know, but make sure when you're exercising that you keep your social distance from people, you know. And they didn't close down like the basketball courts and the tennis courts, but they basically kind of said like, hey, no contact sports, no contacts. Like if you want to jog or ride your bike, that's fine, but make sure that you're keeping your social distancing amongst people. But you had people that went out, you know, on the lake and they were playing basketball, football, you know what I'm saying, all these contact sports after they literally said not to do it. And it's crazy, right? Because you think about it, like, if the NFL's clout, like, they're done for the season, if the NBA season, baseball, all these sports are like done, they're closing down, why do y'all, these professional sports, why do y'all think that y'all can go out there and play these sports, these contact sports, and think that it's cool? Like, that's the part that kills me, because then they make it worse for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's whatever. But those are just my thoughts on this whole, like, what's going on right now. I really wanted to talk about that. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe. And also don't forget that if you want me to talk about a topic, like a Q&A, like a question that you have, be sure to put it down in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to answer it if I feel like obviously it's appropriate for the podcast. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll chat with you later. Peace, Fan Army.